Good afternoon. We'll just give it a minute while folks are logging in.
Kathy, there's a little bit of funny feedback on you. Maybe just adjust your mic. Seems better. Yeah. That's weird.
Okay, let's get started. I am Kathy Kokis, and I'm the Business Development Director for Kitsap Economic Development Alliance. My colleague and I, Teresa Mangrum, are administering multiple grants at Kitsap Economic Development Alliance for 2 cities, the county, and the state. Can we make Becky a panelist?
She was invited as a panelist. Let me see her. Okay, there we have got her allowed to talk, and there she is. Okay.
Becky?
I'm not on the screen in any way. I can't see any of the participants. So I don't know. I mean, I'd be more than happy to do it this way if you want me to.
Huh.
It's a webinar, so we're not showing all the participants, but we do see you. But
yeah, you're showing. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, so you're as a panelist now. So Becky Erickson is going to chat about the Poulsbo grant program, which is also going on. And Becky, perhaps let's just start with you.
The Poulsbo Small Business Grant through the CARES funding, which is federal funding that is being funneled through the state of Washington.
Uh-oh. I just promoted her. Okay, sorry, Becky. Now, can you unmute again?
There we go.
Sorry about that.
Okay. There we go. Hi. Okay, that's better.
Hey.
So the CARES funding is the source of most of the funding that's coming into both county and city government inside Kitsap County, and the city of Poulsbo has been awarded at this point $335,000, which we have allocated in several different ways, but right now, we're in the process of our grant application for small businesses is open. In order to qualify for this grant, you have to have you have to be a Poulsbo business working and operating in Poulsbo. That is the city of Poulsbo, not the greater Poulsbo. That's inside city limits. And what we did with our grant is, first of all, you can get the grant applications on the front page of the city website. That is cityofpoulsbo.com, CITYOFPOULSBO, cityofpoulsbo.com. And if you go to that website, on the front page, there's a link that you can click that has the application information available, and also a frequently asked question piece on the website. As people have asked questions, we've added to that. The basic nature of the grant is for all forms of business expenses. In other words, it can be for payroll, it can be for cost of sales, it can be for utilities, it can be for repairs and maintenance, it can be for small capital, not real capital. How about the repair of small tools? For instance, if you have to install plexiglass in order to protect yourself from your customers, that would obviously be an expense that was covered. So expenses that have been incurred or loss that have occurred because of COVID. The nature of the grant is you fill out basically who you are. You have to have a Poulsbo business license. You have to either already have a W-9 filled out with the city, or you can fill out a W-9 because you will be, the money granted to you will be recorded for tax purposes. And the trick of it is there's also a spreadsheet. On the spreadsheet, you have to list all the business expenses that you're asking to be reimbursed for, plus an invoice or a receipt that those expenses have been paid for. And you have to include that in the grant application. The city of Poulsbo initially is planning on allocating $80,000 in total. We have selected a committee, the city council has selected a committee of 3 private citizens that are going to determine how that money is split up amongst the grant applications. If everybody is going to get a little bit of it, or some are going to get more, that will be a determination of this particular committee. We didn't want to do it internally, nor did the city council want to do it because of the political nature. You know, we want to have it as independent and as clean as we can who makes those selections. So the grant application period is up through September 20th. So you still have a couple days to apply. Go out and get the forms, fill it out, and send it off to the city. It's a great opportunity. Yes, sole proprietors can apply. Yes, nonprofits can apply. We do not have those criteria or limitations. It is not simply rent release. It is expenses that have occurred because of COVID or losses incurred because of COVID. We, however, will not allow you to double dip, which means if you've been reimbursed for payroll expenses through another grant program, you can't claim those. You can't get money from the county and from other sources and then come back and claim it again at the city. You can't double dip. That's the first thing. The second thing is it can't go for debt. In other words, if you have a line of credit on your business and you've run it up 20 grand or whatever, you can't apply to have that paid off. No debt services to be paid with this money. So those are the 2 pretty strict criteria. I know some sole proprietors got left out of the prior grants because it was simply for payroll. That is not the case. If you're a sole proprietor and you've draw income from that sole proprietor and your business, you can be reimbursed for that as well. Okay, so it's a little more flexible, I hope, than the other grant processes out there. So that's it. That's all I have. And I welcome any questions from anyone if they have them.
Do we have questions for Becky? I did post on the chat the link for the grant application.
I'm not seeing any questions coming in, and we've also posted the link on the Kitsap CARES smallbiz.com website. And I'm going to pop in to say that a lot of new flexibility has been built into the other programs as well. And we're going to be going through all of those in detail. And some of the grants apply to every business in the county that's eligible, and others only apply to specific cities. So if you have a question for Mayor Erickson, why don't we put it in the chat for now, and let's see if we address some of those questions as we go through the presentation.
Oh, there's some now. Brenda, I don't know if this is for all the grants or just Poulsbo. What is the timeline of allowable expenses?
It is the time period of the pandemic, which means it's probably from like the 1st of March through the end of October. Okay, so that's the time period involved. In other words, if you've prepaid an expense and it's going to be actually incurred in October, let's say you paid in advance for some kind of equipment you need in your business, and it's not going to be delivered in October, but you paid for it already, that would be an allowable expense. So it's 1st of March through the end of October. And then the second question, is it just brick businesses in the city of Poulsbo? Yes, you have to have a physical presence in the city of Poulsbo in order to be eligible. That's one of the criteria. If you don't have a physical presence in the city, there are other grants. I know that the county is offering grants as well. So, but these are for business. This is City of Poulsbo funding mechanisms, and so it is for City of Poulsbo businesses.
Yeah. And the question from Kyle, kind of the same thing. Hold on, we're going to get to the other areas, and because there are programs eligible that other outside of the city of Poulsbo are eligible for.
Okay, Kelly has a question. May we use the grant for a new invoice to upgrade and make services available online? It's reimbursement. So I would, if you've had a COVID impact and you have already paid, I would say yes. Mayor?
Absolutely, yes, that's correct. If it's a COVID impact, and if you're upgrading your website because you're trying to compete because of COVID, that's an expense. And to me, it's just as valid as expense as plexiglass to keep people away from one another. You are doing something you wouldn't do unless you had COVID happen. And I guess, there's always judgments on some of these, but we're trying to be as flexible and as, how should we say, understanding as we can be about the situation.
Same answer is true to the Kitsap County and the KEDA CARES programs.
Okay, so let's get rolling, and there may be more questions for the mayor as we move forward. So this just talks about, Mayor mentioned how much, and this might have been updated. I think this was from a story a few months ago, and I believe all the jurisdictions have received additional funds, but there was a huge influx of CARES funding into the county. So KEDA is partnering with the county, the city of Bremerton, and the city of Port Orchard to facilitate small business grants on their behalf. And we are also distributing an additional $245,000 from federal CARES funding that we have received through the Washington State Department of Commerce. So we're going to give a quick overview of what's happened. Bremerton, the phases, the first two rounds are being reviewed. The city has that list now, and they are reviewing them and determining what will happen. The next round opens next Monday at 8 a.m. with broader eligibility criteria, which we're going to review in just a moment. Kitsap County, we have also, I will be sending them the rounds 2 and 3 applications for their further review, and their next round opens on Monday as well. They have expanded their eligibility criteria, and now you can receive up to $10,000 versus $5,000. They will also consider folks who receive $5,000 from other jurisdictions to bring their total up to 10. But again, you can't double dip. If you get, if you ask Poulsbo to pay for $5,000 of PPE retrofit, the county's not going to pay you again for that same retrofit.
And we are tracking who receives what, and it is you can imagine with all of these programs, and they're overlapping a lot, it's confusing. And I will just want to throw out that we have been making changes and edits to this PowerPoint and the website up till 10 minutes ago, and the website is not yet reflecting all of the changes that we just learned about yesterday, but it's coming, so bear with us.
And then Port Orchard, their first round of checks have been delivered. They are actually working on the second round of checks, and their third application period opens tomorrow. So just about the KEDA CARES program, again, this is funding from the State Department of Commerce. They're up to $5,000. They must be COVID-19 impacts, and it does have a broader eligibility criteria similar to what the mayor just talked about with Poulsbo. If you're not sure about where you stand on either a Bremerton or Port Orchard or county application, go ahead and apply, because as Teresa just mentioned, we are tracking them all. So, and we're working with the city as well of Poulsbo. So we'll do our best to keep you out of trouble as far as the double dipping. This is an overall sheet of the ones that we're working on about, you know, how much has been allocated, what the award amount can be, how many awards there are, etc. And as always, these slides will be available after the meeting. I will note now that prior, some of the programs didn't allow EIDL or PPP. Those have all been, that has been eliminated. You just need to tell us that if you used EIDL or PPP for something, we need to know what it was and what month, because you cannot be reimbursed for funding for the same thing, because it all came from CARES, and the federal government frowns on double dipping.
Yeah, and you will be signing and you will be certifying that the information that you provide is accurate and true, and that is a contract. So you're putting your name to it.
So for the county, they are now, they've expanded beyond rent or lease expenses, and now you can also add PPE, business retrofits and supplies. So it's not just rent, it's also PPE, business retrofits and supplies, paid between March 1 and the date of your application. And the award, as we noted before, is now up to $10,000. Unlike the other programs, these funds are awarded on a first come, first served basis because they have a higher pool of funding. If you did get funding at a lower amount previously, you are eligible for that increased funding, the up to 10, but you are required to reapply. We're not going to go through and say, oh, Joe's Flowers had only got 4,900. Let's see what else we could do. That is on you. For the county, you have to be active and licensed in Washington State with a physical business address in Kitsap County as of March 1st, 2019. This is a big change, no more than 50 employees. Before it was 20. And now we can count the owner. So before it was 3 to 20, and now it's 50 and under. So that's a huge difference. And as with all of these, it's one business award, not location award. For Bremerton, up to 5,000. Again, they chose to increase for this round up to 50 as of January 15th. They are allowing sole proprietors, home-based businesses, and 501c nonprofits as well. Here's a big difference. They are following the KEDA CARES model. You are not required to submit a receipt. However, we or the city, KEDA or the city, as we process these, may request receipts if we have a question. And all receipts and documents related to the grant, if you are awarded, must be kept per Department of Commerce directives for follow-up for 6 years. You must keep all documents and receipts for 6 years. So don't be saying, wahoo, I don't have to have the receipt. Yes, you do. I'm just not going to perhaps ask to see it, but I could come back and ask, or the state could come back and ask, or the city could come back and ask for 6 years. So please have a method that you're going to track those. If you use cloud storage, maybe you scan it all into a file and have it there. Telling your COVID story is really, really important. This is how, you know, the review folks are going to gauge the impact. So be as detailed and as specific as possible anywhere that we give you an opportunity to talk about things. As noted before, if you got an EIDL loan or a grant or a PPP loan, that does not disqualify you. What is disqualified is any payments that you made for rent, payroll, supplies, inventory, services, and you will be asked to identify that you got one of those, and then we're going to need to know what exactly you paid for with those funds. Because again, we need to confirm that you are not double dipping. For Bremerton, you need to have been active and licensed with a physical address as of March 1 this year, limited to one owner or business entity, not per location. So Port Orchard, up to 5,000, up to 15 employees. They have not changed anything. They just want to make sure as many people that they can help as possible will be helped. Their original funding was, what was it, Teresa? Do you remember? 100. The mayor tells us if necessary, he can put some more funds into that pool.
Yes, in fact, he said that they really hope to fund everyone that applies that are eligible.
So again, one per business. The date you need to have been in business, March 1. And again, the EIDL and the PPP do not disqualify you, just no double dipping. You're going to hear us talk about no double dipping because it's really important. If you do something like that, you'll find yourself on a list called debarment for the federal government, and no one wants to be on that list because it restricts you from getting any other government funding or contracts. KEDA CARES. So this is up to 20 employees. That amount was set by the state in their guidance to us. Sole proprietors and home-based are allowed. Unfortunately, nonprofits are not. Again, this is directive from the state. You will not be required to submit receipts, but again, be detailed. How are you going to use the funds? And again, you must keep everything related if you are awarded the grant for 6 years, because again, we could come back, or in this case, the state could come back and request that documentation. You had to have been in business as of March 1 last year, and it's limited to one owner per grant. So what's the difference? What's the same? Sorry.
For
you
all
have
programs.
I know, but be in compliance with the Safe Start guidelines. So if you haven't been following the Safe Start guidelines, you are ineligible, and you have to keep those receipts. We're going to ask you for a loss of income. This is how we're determining the negative impact from COVID. So we're asking you to compare your gross revenue from Q2 of 2019 to Q2 of 2020. That impact determines your grant amount. Minimum $2,500, max $10,000 for the county, $5,000 for the others. If you actually made money from 2019 to 2020, you'll be getting a note from me saying, I'm so sorry, you're ineligible for this program. And again, the different grant and federal loan programs are eligible. You're just not allowed to do the double dipping. This just goes into more detail about the impact. We're going to want to know, again, if you got those other relief funds, what did you use the money for? And I need it to be specific. If you just say I used it for rent, I need to know specifically I used it for rent in May and June. So that tells me that if you're asking for reimbursement for rent, that it could be used for July and August, as an example. These questions are going to be on the county, the Bremerton, and the KEDA CARES application. Again, is the expense connected to COVID? Is the expense necessary to continue business operations? And you're confirming that the expense is not filling a shortfall in government owed payments like taxes, licenses, or any fees. It has not been funded by any other funder, again, that no double dipping rule. And you would not be seeking this grant if you had not been impacted by COVID-19. So this is from the website that Teresa was referencing, which is kitsapcaresmallbiz.com. You're going to find we have a overview for each program, and we also have the link to the City of Poulsbo's program. We don't have an overview, but we do have a link where you can get all the information on the city's website. So this is at a glance telling you what each program is going to ask. And there will also be a sample of the online application that you will be asked to fill out. All applications must be done online.
I'm going to pop in here. First of all, that was a sample of the KEDA program overview. There's one for Kitsap County. The one for Bremerton, I haven't done yet, so it's not there yet. And I want to go to a question from Kyle. He says, as a sole proprietor, I just get 1099s from various companies. I don't have a business license. Do I qualify as a sole proprietor that uses Schedule C tax filer? Well, I don't know. Who does?
Why don't you have a business license? You should still have a business license as a contractor.
Well, if his business is in the county, he might not have a local business license. He should have a state business.
Yes.
But he might not have a local business license. So
yeah.
He wouldn't qualify for the City of Poulsbo because he's not in Poulsbo. Else he would have a Poulsbo business license.
Right. Kyle, yeah, hopefully you would need at least the Washington state license. And if you're doing business in the cities, I believe even if you don't live there, they want you to have a business license.
Right.
And the county does not have business licenses.
And I just clicked on the allow to talk for Kyle. Kyle, if you want to unmute yourself and add any more to that question, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, so it's a pretty small scale business. As a sole proprietor, I just receive commission payments for contracted work. So I'm not like a contractor builder type guy. I do sales for a company, and a business license is not required to do that because it's on a relatively small scale.
Yeah, you're under the, what is it, 25,000 at the state level? I think it is.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
You don't actually need it, so I don't know if that might not be covered by you guys because it looks like one of your requirements is a UBI. So I just wanted to verify that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, we could ask the question of the county, but off the top of my head. Yeah. All right. That's a follow-up for us because we don't know that answer for sure. So Christina, Becky, when did they have to be in business for you?
I don't remember the answer to that one. I'm sorry, I don't. They have to have been in business for some time before the event. I know that. But I can't remember when it is. I think it's within a year.
So Christina, check out the city's website. You might qualify for the Poulsbo one if you're in city limits.
And if you're not, I mean, if you have more questions, you can always shoot me an email or our city clerk's office, shoot them an email. They're the ones that are compiling the information, the frequently asked questions FAQ page, and they will get back to you if they have any questions for the City of Poulsbo. A lot of people don't know if they're in the city or not. So that's the first question. You have to make sure that you are operating within Poulsbo city limits.
Yeah, on our applications, we have a link to the Department of Revenue's jurisdiction code where you just put in your address and it'll tell you. If it comes up 1800, you are in unincorporated Kitsap County.
So,
Irene just answered the question for Poulsbo. They had to have a business in Poulsbo by April 1, 2020, per the application. Thank you, Irene.
so we had a question from, well, who was it from? Samantha. She was asking if she got $5,000 from Port Orchard, would she be eligible for $5,000 more through KEDA CARES? My response to her was that you would be eligible if you meet the criteria for $5,000 additional, not $10,000
From the county.
additional.
From the county.
And so, yes, the names are confusing. We're sorry. KEDA CARES, Bremerton CARES, Kitsap CARES. There's a lot of CARES programs out there, and we're doing our best to try and keep it straight. But honestly, with so many different programs with similar but different criteria, it's boggling. And so shoot us your specific questions via email if we are not clear today.
Oh my goodness. Now Irene says, in business for at least 6 months prior to March 1, 2020 for Poulsbo. So that might not work for you, Christina. Sorry.
Wait,
Irene, I thought she said November.
No, she said.
The easiest thing is to call up the clerk's office and
Yeah.
Yeah, Christina called.
She was July, so she might be.
Oh, maybe. So just moving on, UBI, which is your state, proves you have a state business license. This is the big one for me. We've had lots of people download the IRS form, fill it out, but not print it and sign it. It must be signed. It's not valid if it's not signed. Gross revenue not exceeding 1.5 million. Oh, that doesn't belong in there either.
No, it should be 5 million.
5 million. We will be correcting this before we post it. And again, this is just how we're determining your COVID impact.
Yeah, it was 1.5, but they increased it to 5.
So business structures, all these business structures, wow, we did this in a hurry. Nonprofits, 501c3 would be for the county, Poulsbo, and Bremerton.
I have another meeting I have to go to. I just want to give a shout out to KEDA, Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, for really doing some heavy lifting on all of these grants. If you have any questions about the city of Poulsbo, please get a hold of the city clerk's office. And go, Teresa. Go, Katie. You're rocking it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so I hope this is as clear as mud that they all have a bit of the business structure that you see here are all the different options, but they're not available for every single program.
You're just going to need to know it when you apply.
Yeah. But this is, so nonprofit 501c3s, again, Bremerton, the county, and Poulsbo. Home-based, KEDA, Bremerton, what is it, the county now too? I can't remember.
Yes.
County and Poulsbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this date, the date business open varies from program to program. This is the date for KEDA. And then this helps you understand how to calculate full-time equivalents. So it's not number of employees necessarily, because you could have 60 employees, but what if 30 are part-time? That means that you probably are under that 50, or for the ones that are 20, you may still be under the 20. So please, make note that this is full-time equivalent, not just total employees. It's different. and then do your homework. We recommend that after you look at the documents and what you're going to be asked to do, that you put all this information in a Word document or a Google Doc so that it's easy to copy and paste. Again, download and sign your W-9 form. Review the sample applications. They'll all be posted on the Kitsap Care smallbiz.com website once we're done futzing with that. We've had a lot of changes in the last couple of days, so we have opted not to give up sleep, so that is why it's not totally updated.
So we're not getting a lot of it.
So again, the self-certification questions are on 3 of the applications you'll see, KEDA, County, and Bremerton. And the portals open on the 21st. Next Monday, Poulsbo is open now, and then Sunday on the 20th. And Port Orchard opens tomorrow. It has a shorter timeline. So please make note of which one is appropriate for you and make sure you get your application in before the deadline. So in summary, do your homework. It's really, really, really important to tell your story. Be specific, be concise, be thorough, so that you are telling people exactly why it's important for you to have this grant.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that, we have to verify, Kathy and me, it's 2 of us, all of these applications and all of your documentation. And then if it's what the jurisdiction has determined, from there it may go to a committee for additional review. But I beg you to please be as clear as possible when you're uploading your documents in, and I mean by the way that you save them. So if you have a rent document, name it, rent, March 2020, April 2020 rent, be specific, tell us what it is. Getting a bunch of files that just have random, auto-generated names
and numbers, no,
not useful, not helpful. And then the other comment that I'd like to make is that the criteria for these programs have been loosened up drastically just recently, and it's because everyone really wants to get this money that's come to them out to business. And what we found out before was that just rent was too restrictive. So that's why it's been opened up. Some of the criteria has been dropped, some of it's been expanded, and everyone really wants to get the money out to the businesses to be helpful. So if you applied before and you find it frustrating that now it's a different ball game, we apologize, but it's just been such a moving target, and everybody genuinely wants to be as helpful as possible.
Yes, and if you know someone, especially under the county one, that was ineligible because they had not enough employees, please encourage them to apply again, because now they are eligible.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think I saw a couple of our chamber partners on here, and I just want to give a shout out to them for continuing to help us with these efforts. And also to remind people, if you are looking for a no-touch thermometer, the chambers have them. They just need you to sign a piece of paper saying you haven't received one already through FEMA, and it's free. You do have to meet some criteria, pretty basic, and we have a website that you can apply online, or you can just call the chambers that is near you. So I just want to say thank you to the chambers. We appreciate your partnership in getting the word out and helping getting those thermometers out. We do encourage you to, contact us if you do have questions, because it's super confusing with all the changes. I mean, we can't even keep our cheat sheet current. So I don't know how other people are doing it, but we will be totally updating Kitsap CARES smallbiz.com. We'll have a preview of the applications. We encourage you to apply. It's not that long to put the information in once you have it. So any final questions?
What was the information on if they want a thermometer, check with their chamber? Was that?
Yeah, the no-touch thermometers, the chambers have them, every chamber in Kitsap County. And I think on our website, we have the link to the application to somewhere.
Yeah.
So
there is a
lot of assistance out there for you, and we just want to make sure that you are taking advantage. And Irene, thank you for posting the city clerk's email in the chat. So any Poulsbo businesses, please take note of that. We also posted the link to their application. Will the updated applications for KEDA and Kitsap be available before 9/21? The KEDA one is available now. I will say the county one will be similar, except that they're only doing PPE and rent.
I think this county one, I think I got that one up yesterday, though it doesn't reflect the $10,000.
Yeah, so we have to update it.
Yeah.
But they will
Bremerton.
be. Yeah. Teresa, do you think we can get it updated by Friday?
Yes, yeah, and we'll get this PowerPoint and the recording posted hopefully today. But yes, I'll get that Bremerton one just as soon as possible.
Okay.
All right, is that it?
I don't see any more, but just give folks a minute, I guess.
Please share, the information with anybody you know. It's, I will tell you, I had a conversation with a couple of business owners over the weekend who hadn't applied even for PPP or the EIDL grants because they were concerned about taking on debt. These are grants and the money is there and it will go away if we don't use it. And so we use it. You need it.
Mm-hmm.
Want to get it to you. Okay. I think we're good.
I think we're good too. Thank you all. I think, as Teresa said, share the info. Please apply, and we, the jurisdictions, the chambers, the Small Business Development Center are all here to help you as a small business owner. Thank you.
Bye.